As Mary entered her 9th month, the pregnancy took an unexpected turn. One evening, she experienced severe abdominal pain and rushed to the hospital, accompanied by Samuel and Jennifer. The doctors assured her the baby was fine, but ordered bed rest for the remainder of the pregnancy. This health scare brought everyone's emotions to the surface. Jennifer's obsession grew stronger, and Samuel became more protective of Mary, which only deepened the rift between the three of them. "Why do you care so much about her?" Jennifer snapped at Samuel one evening after they returned from the hospital. "You're supposed to be focused on the baby and me." He smiled through his tears. Samuel sighed, his frustration evident. "I care because she's carrying our child, Jen. She's risking her life for this, and she deserves our support, not hostility." Jennifer's jealousy festered, but she didn't voice her true thoughts. She couldn't shake the feeling that Samuel was growing too close to Mary. Confined to her room, Mary had time to reflect. She began to feel trapped, as though her life was no longer her own. While she initially wanted to help Samuel and Jennifer, she couldn't ignore the deep connection she felt with the baby. One night, she made a bold decision. She contacted a lawyer to discuss her rights. "I didn't ask for this," she explained, "but I won't be treated like I don't matter. I need to know where I stand once the baby is born." The lawyer explained that as the biological mother, Mary had legal rights even though the embryo wasn't hers. This revelation empowered her, but also terrified her. She knew this decision would spark a battle with the powerful Andersons. Meanwhile, Jennifer, sensing Mary's growing independence, decided to take matters into her own hands. She secretly met with Dr. Callahan, who was still reeling from the mistake that had started it all. "Dr. Callahan," Jennifer began, her voice cold and calculated, "we need to ensure Mary doesn't interfere once the baby is born. You owe us that much after your mistake." The doctor hesitated. "Mrs. Anderson, I've done everything I can to make amends, but Mary has rights and I can't legally—" Jennifer cut him off. "Then find a way to make her see reason, otherwise I'll ruin your career." Dr. Callahan reluctantly agreed to speak with Mary, though he knew it would only complicate matters further. As the days passed, Samuel began to notice Jennifer's increasingly erratic behavior. She became controlling, monitoring Mary's every move and obsessing over the baby. Samuel confronted her one evening. "Jen, this isn't healthy," he said. "You're pushing Mary away and it's going to backfire. We need to work with her, not against her." Jennifer glared at him. "Work with her? She's trying to take our baby, Samuel. Can't you see that?" Samuel shook his head. "She's not the enemy, Jen. This is all because of a mistake, and we have to deal with it together." Jennifer's paranoia deepened. She began to wonder if Samuel's loyalty was shifting toward Mary, and the thought consumed her. Mary's due date finally arrived. As she went into labor, Samuel and Jennifer rushed to the hospital to be by her side. The delivery was long and arduous, but eventually a healthy baby boy was born. Mary held the baby first, tears streaming down her face. She felt an overwhelming love for the child, a bond she hadn't anticipated. When the nurse handed the baby to Jennifer, her hands trembled as she cradled him. "He's perfect," Jennifer whispered. Her voice choked with emotion, but the joy was short-lived. Mary hesitated to sign the paperwork relinquishing custody, and tension filled the room. "I need time," Mary said, her voice firm. "I can't make this decision right now." Jennifer's face darkened. "What do you mean, you need time? This is our child." Samuel stepped in, trying to calm the situation. "Let's not rush this. Mary's been through a lot. We can figure this out together." But Jennifer had reached her breaking point. "No, Samuel, this has gone on long enough. She's trying to steal our baby and I won't let it happen." As the argument escalated, Dr. Callahan entered the room, looking visibly uneasy. "I need to speak with all of you," he said. The room fell silent as the doctor revealed a shocking truth. A DNA test had been performed as part of routine protocol, and the results were unexpected. "Samuel," Dr. Callahan began, "the baby isn't biologically yours." Gasps filled the room. Samuel stared at the doctor in disbelief. "What are you talking about? That's impossible," Dr. Callahan explained. "During the embryo transfer process, another couple's embryo was accidentally used. This child belongs to neither of you." Jennifer collapsed into a chair, her world shattered. Mary, too, was stunned. The baby she had carried wasn't even connected to the Andersons. The revelation left everyone in the room questioning everything they thought they knew. What would happen to the baby now? How would the Andersons recover from this devastating truth? And where did Mary's journey lead from here? The room was thick with tension after Dr. Callahan's shocking revelation. Jennifer sat frozen, her face pale and hands trembling. Samuel paced back and forth, running his hands through his hair, struggling to process the news. Mary, still exhausted from labor, stared at the baby in her arms. The baby wasn't biologically Samuel and Jennifer's. The couple they had trusted the clinic to create life with didn't exist in this equation. Instead, this innocent child was the result of a completely unrelated embryo mix-up. Jennifer broke the silence. "No, this has to be some kind of mistake. Do another test. Check again." Dr. Callahan shook his head. "The test results are accurate, Mrs. Anderson. I've reviewed them thoroughly. This baby's biological parents are another couple who were part of the program." Samuel finally spoke, his voice low and tense. "Then where are the real parents? What happens now?" Dr. Callahan hesitated. "The clinic is working to identify them, but this is a highly sensitive situation. We'll need time to sort this out legally." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. No, I don't care about the biology. We've waited so long for this baby. He's ours. I won't let anyone take him away." Mary, still holding the baby, felt her heart break for the innocent child caught in this storm. She had bonded with him over the months, but now everything felt uncertain. "What happens to him now?" Mary asked quietly, her voice trembling. "Does he go back to strangers or does he stay with me?" Dr. Callahan replied cautiously. "Legally, this will be a complex case. Until the biological parents are found, the court will need to decide temporary custody." Mary looked at the baby, her heart aching. She couldn't bear the thought of handing him over to anyone, not after all they'd been through together. But she also knew the Andersons would fight tooth and nail for the child. Jennifer, already on the edge, couldn't accept this new twist. "This child is ours," she said, her voice sharp. "I don't care what the DNA says. We've invested everything, emotionally, financially, and otherwise. He belongs to us." Samuel tried to reason with her. "Jen, we need to think this through. The baby's biological parents have a right to know. We can't ignore the truth." Jennifer shot him a glare. "Don't you dare, Samuel. I won't lose this child because of some technicality." Samuel felt torn. He loved Jennifer and understood her pain, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were crossing a moral line. A week later, the clinic identified the baby's biological parents, Marcus and Elena Hayes, a middle-class couple who had been struggling with infertility for years. The clinic reached out to them, and they quickly made their way to the hospital to meet their child. When Marcus and Elena arrived, the tension in the room was palpable. Marcus, a soft-spoken man with kind eyes, looked at the baby with awe. Elena, already in tears, reached out to touch the tiny hand of the child she never thought she'd have. Jennifer's protective instincts kicked in. "You can't just come in here and take him. We've been with him through everything," she snapped. Elena, though emotional, stood her ground. "This is our baby," she said firmly. "I understand what you've been through, but he belongs with us." Mary, watching the emotional standoff, felt overwhelmed. She had no legal claim to the baby, yet she felt like his mother in every way that mattered. The case quickly escalated into a legal battle. Marcus and Elena filed for custody, backed by the DNA evidence. Samuel and Jennifer, determined not to lose the child, hired a team of high professional lawyers to fight for their claim. The court hearings were grueling. Jennifer played the role of a devoted mother. painting herself and Samuel as the only ones who could provide a stable, loving home for the baby. Marcus and Elena, meanwhile, shared their heartbreaking story of infertility and how they had waited years for this miracle. Mary, caught in the middle, was called to testify. When asked about her bond with the baby, she said, "I love him like he's my own, but I know he's not biologically mine. All I want is for him to be with people who will love and care for him." Her honesty earned her respect, but it also highlighted the complexity of the situation. Throughout the trial, Samuel began to question their actions. Watching Marcus and Elena's heartfelt pleas, he felt a pang of guilt. These were good people who had been wronged by the same system that had failed him and Jennifer. One night, he confronted Jennifer. "Maybe we need to let him go, Jen," he said quietly. Jennifer looked at him in disbelief. "Are you seriously giving up on our child?" "He's not ours," Samuel replied, his voice heavy with emotion. "We've been fighting so hard for something that isn't rightfully ours. I can't keep ignoring that." Jennifer's anger flared. "If you won't fight for him, I will. You've already failed me enough." Samuel, hurt by her words, realized that their marriage might not survive this ordeal. After weeks of emotional testimony and deliberation, the judge delivered the verdict. Custody would be awarded to Marcus and Elena, the baby's biological parents. However, the judge acknowledged the role Mary played and granted her visitation rights, recognizing the bond she had formed with the child. Jennifer broke down in tears, refusing to accept the outcome. Samuel, though heartbroken, knew it was the right decision. He silently vowed to rebuild his life and support Jennifer as best he could, even if it meant their marriage would never be the same. Mary, while devastated to part with the baby, felt a sense of closure knowing he would be with his true family. Marcus and Elena, overwhelmed with gratitude, promised to honor Mary's role in their son's life. Months later, life began to settle for everyone involved. Mary returned to school and found a renewed sense of purpose, channeling her experience into advocacy for ethical practices in fertility clinics. Samuel and Jennifer, though still grieving their loss, started therapy to rebuild their relationship. Samuel began to see that happiness wasn't just about legacy, but about the connections they shared. As for Marcus and Elena, they named their son Nathaniel, meaning gift from God, and cherished every moment with him, knowing how close they came to losing him forever. Though the journey had been painful, it brought profound lessons to everyone involved about love, sacrifice, and the unpredictable twists of fate.